Hey everyone, it's Rachel. Most guitarists, including myself, really love gear and guitars, so today I'm going to walk you through all of the main guitars I use for recording and practice on a daily basis, and I'll also walk you through all my other guitar gear like my amp, my picks, my strings. I did make a similar video to this around a year ago, but today we're going to look at an updated one focusing on only the main instruments I use for making my videos. Every piece of gear I mentioned in this video will be linked down below. So first, let's take a look at all my main guitars. So this guitar right here is the first guitar I got after my original Fender Squier starter pack guitar. I started looking for a new guitar because I knew I was going to stick with it, and I really loved how this guitar looked, and I just loved Ibanez guitars in general. And when I got it, it really inspired me to keep playing, and I practiced all the time on it. It's just a beautiful instrument, and I love how it plays, I love how it looks, and I was just so incredibly excited to have it. The guitar's Ibanez name is RG652 AHM-FX. As usual, quite the tongue twister, and I really just love this guitar. As you can see, the guitar has two humbuckers, and that is one of the reasons I went for it. Coming from my starter guitar that had single coils, I knew that I really wanted humbuckers, at least in the bridge, for playing metal. It also has a beautiful bird's eye maple neck, as you can see here, and it just looks awesome. The guitar is also actually super light. I think it's 7 pounds or less. It's definitely my lightest guitar, and that is super nice when you're playing for a long time, and I imagine if you were playing on stage, it would be a big benefit as well. It has locking tuners, which is super nice since it allows you to change strings really fast and keeps them in tune, and a hardtail bridge. As you can see, it's also a 24 fret guitar, which is nice to get that range of notes, and also it's really easy to get up to the 24th fret because there's this big cutaway, so very easy, ease of access, and just really easy to play overall. As you can see, it also has a very thin neck, which is kind of a Ibanez standard, and that makes it really quick to play as well. So yeah, I just really love this guitar. It is just an awesome instrument. I love how it sounds, I love how it plays, and it is one of my main recording instruments, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So next up, we have this instrument right here, another Ibanez guitar, and it's another blue guitar as well, so there might be some themes going on with my instruments, as you can probably tell. But it is just a really great guitar. It has a Floyd Rose bridge, which is really cool to play around with, even if it makes it a little bit harder to change the strings. And it also is double locking, so it locks the strings up here and in the tremolo, so that means that it really rarely goes out of tune. It's basically always in tune, even if I don't touch it for a long period of time. It has a rosewood neck, and again has 24 frets like the other guitar, with a cutaway that makes it really easy to access those high frets, which is super nice. This guitar is a bit of an older model. It's from around 2013, I think, and it's called the S5470F, and it's another made in Japan Ibanez guitar. As you can see here, it has an HSH style pickup configuration, so you have a single coil in the middle and a humbucker in the neck and bridge position, and that makes it super versatile. You can play pretty much anything with it. It's a bit heavier than my other guitar, the RG I just showed you, so probably a couple pounds heavier at least, and that is a pretty noticeable difference, but it's still relatively light, I think, compared to some of the other styles of guitars out there. Again, it also has a very thin neck, as you can see here, which makes it super easy to play on. Overall, I just really love this guitar. It's super fun to play on, and you'll see it and hear it in many of my videos. The other thing here is that since it does have a Floyd Rose floating trem system, it is a lot harder to change the strings and change tuning, so I'll use this guitar pretty much only when I'm in standard tuning, and I'll use my RG for all the videos when I am in other tunings like D standard, but it is really fun to play on. This is again a really awesome instrument overall. I just love how it sounds and looks, and I'm super happy to have it around. So next up we have the last of my main guitars, and the one with the most exciting backstory. If you haven't seen it, I actually won this guitar in an air guitar contest at Nita Strauss's album release party back in November. That was just a super cool experience overall. Nita Strauss is a big inspiration for me, and getting to attend the album release party in the first place was super cool, so it just was even more incredible that I came away with this new guitar. Nita actually signed the back of the guitar here, and I actually had it preserved with a clear coat over the back by a local guitar company so that it will never rub off. This guitar is a 7-string guitar, and the first 7-string guitar I've ever played. It is super cool having that low string and being able to experiment with it. If you want to look it up, the guitar is called the S1002 PBF. The guitar has humbuckers in the neck and bridge position and just sounds really incredible. I also really love the fretboard and the fretboard wood on this guitar. I believe it's Pega Panga, and it's the first one I've seen like it. It just looks super cool, and the wood grain looks awesome. The guitar also has locking tuners, which are super useful when you're changing strings quickly and keep it in tune well. I'm also a big fan of the purple heartwood stripe on the back of the neck. It just looks really cool to me. Conveniently, even though I didn't actually pick out this guitar, it is blue and matches with all my other guitars. I guess it was just an incident of fate bringing me to this one. Overall, it's a super cool guitar, and although I haven't really featured it in too many videos yet, I did make one video where I played it for the first time, and I am planning on a cover that's going to use the 7-string guitar coming in the near future, something I've been working on recently. While it's definitely a bit of an adjustment coming from 6 strings, I find that it hasn't been that bad, and I've gotten pretty comfortable with it recently. Overall, this guitar is awesome, and the story behind the guitar and how I got it just makes it super special to me as well. So those are all my main guitars that I use for practice and recording, and I'm a big fan of all of them, as you can probably tell. Before we get into the other parts of my guitar rig, I just wanted to quickly mention that I do have a bass guitar right here. This is an Ibanez SR 300E, and I just got this mostly for writing original music and just having around when I need a bass. I honestly haven't played it very much outside of my original song and a few different recordings, but it is good to have around for when I need it, and I think it's a pretty good overall build quality for the cost. For most of my covers, I'll actually use a bass plugin just because it saves a lot of time, but I really like having this around for writing original music. Alright, so now that we've gone through all of my main instruments, let's take a look at some of my other physical guitar gear essentials for everyday playing. So one piece of gear that I've used in a ton of my videos, and you've probably seen a lot and you've heard me talk about a lot, is the Yamaha THR-10 practice amp. This amp is just an awesome piece of gear to have around because it's such a great practice tool. I'm not going to go into too many details about the amp in this video since I've made other in-detail videos on it before, but let me just give you a brief overview of why I love this amp and why it is such an essential piece of gear for me. So the main thing that I really love about this amp is that it acts as a USB recording interface. So that means you can just plug your guitar into the amp and then plug the amp into the computer, and then you're all set to go to record directly to any recording software. Another key feature is that this amp is a modeling amp, so it has tons of different tones and effects built in, so you only need this one amp to get lots of different sounds. When you're recording with the amp into your computer, you can get both the sound that the amp actually produces with all the effects on it, and also the dry signal from your guitar, so just the playing guitar signal directly that you can then apply effects to with any sort of modeling software. My recording process has always involved this amp. I'll just take the direct signal from it and then apply modeling software to it afterwards to get the tone I want for whatever video I'm working on, but when I'm practicing with it, I'll just use the tones on it and it sounds awesome. It also has a headphone jack, so it's great for quiet practicing without bothering anyone around you. That's all I'll say about it for now, but yeah, this amp has just been a awesome practice tool for me and a huge part of my recording process. Now, as far as other gear I use when practicing guitar, I use these Audio-Technica ATH M50X headphones, and I've been using these since I got my first guitar. They're really great studio monitoring headphones at a pretty reasonable price, and they sound good, they're pretty comfortable. I did swap out the ear pads for something a little bit softer and more comfortable recently, but overall they are great headphones and I definitely recommend them for your guitar practice setup. Now, another key component of my guitar setup are my guitar picks, and I use the Dunlop Jazz 3 picks. These picks are small and pointy and relatively thick, about 1 millimeter, so they just feel really comfortable and easy to play things quickly with without tripping up. They don't feel like they're ever holding you back, and I really love them. I've been using these for pretty much my whole time playing guitar, and I've tried a few other picks, but I haven't really felt a need to switch yet. They just are really comfortable, and I think you'll see that they're the preferred pick for a lot of metal players out there. A lot of YouTubers use them as well, so definitely worth checking out and trying out if you haven't yet. And lastly, I wanted to mention the strings that I use. Between my two main 6-string guitars, I use 2 different sets of strings. I have 9s on the Floated Rose floating bridge guitar, and I have hybrid 9 through 46s on the hardtail RG guitar. I really like how 9s feel a lot easier to bend, so I tend to prefer them, but on the hardtail guitar I also sometimes down tune, so it's a lot nicer to have a little bit thicker strings on the low end so that I can support down tuning without changing strings. Now, in terms of the actual strings I've been using, for a long time I've used D'Addario strings, as you can see here, but recently I've been trying out the Elixir coated strings, which I've been really liking. They feel really smooth to play and are really comfortable in my fingers, so definitely recommend checking these out as well. So I think that's about it for today and for this guitar rig overview video, going through all of my main guitar gear that I use for recording and practicing. Also, let me know in the comments what your favorite or most essential piece of gear is for yourself. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.